Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to H Podcast Nation. Welcome to the Championship Cardiff City show. We are going to talk some Cardiff City and a little bit of Championship as well. And there's lots to discuss. Done a couple of previews since last week. Hope you enjoyed them. Got another one coming later in the week, probably Friday night, I think. Recording that in the morning. But always good. End of the transfer window coming as well, of course. EFL Cup last night. And Ruben Colwill stepping up is what I will say to start. But also, I've only seen extended highlights of yesterday because I was busy. But everything which I've seen, Ruben Colwill was excellent. A few others as well. But the manager's style of football is taking. Some of the football I saw as Cardiff City play last night was, and I know it's EFL Cup and there's a bit of changes to the squad and stuff like that. But some of the football they played was unbelievable. The Wintel's goal was superb. And actually, just before he scores, the keeper saves a shot, I think, from a Tete. And the football, the build-up play was just sensational. And something which, over the last few years, we have not been used to as Cardiff City fans at all. Like, we have watched some, make no mistake, we have watched some shit in the last couple of years. Some really poor, long ball, dreadful football. So to see some of the movement off the ball and the interchanging and all of this type of stuff was so encouraging. And I got to be honest, like, it was a joy just to witness it, even when it doesn't come off. Just to witness that type of football, it gives you that little bit of hope. And I think as Cardiff fans, that's all we need. Just to give us a little bit of hope. It's the hope that kills you, but at least if we have a bit of hope, you're not feeling like the season's over by Christmas and it's just a relegation battle again. Like, to see some of that interchanging and stuff it's refreshing. And we did that, by the way, certainly for the large part, I don't think he came on, as without Siopis, who made such a massive difference at the weekend coming in. So to then go and play without him in the starting lineup, and I know I saw a few people sort of saying Ebo Adams at the back and only two defenders, and the system worked. I was glad to see that Tanner got a start because I thought he deserved to start in the league game on the weekend. If I'm being honest, when Bolo was out, I thought he should have been given that opportunity, but for whatever reason he wasn't. And you can't argue, Cardiff got the win on the weekend as well. 2 wins on the bounce. That's positive. Like, whichever way you look at it, it's positive. So we got to go with that, and you got to take the positives. Look, we've had loads of negatives. I said on last week's podcast, and I think I said it during one of the, I think the Birmingham preview, that if you looked at it on paper, the league table and that, and it just looks like another painful, poor season for Cardiff, poor start. But actually, I don't think the league table is telling the truth, or it certainly wasn't before the Sheffield Wednesday game, because in another timeline, we probably held on against Leeds. Mate takes the chance against Leicester, and we're undefeated. Or certainly, only the QPR game is the only blot on the record. So I felt like those positives were coming. I felt like there was every game we played except that QPR game. I felt like there was positive signs, and that it wasn't as bad as it's looked like in the table. But I did feel that the Sheffield Wednesday game was vital. We had to get a win by hook or crook. You've got Ugbo, who, look, I've said numerous times, I think his link-up play is almost shockingly bad. But I said at the time when he signed, the people within the club were excited by him and getting him. And in pre-season, everyone was we were all a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But he's got a knack of being in the right place at the right time. And ultimately, for a striker, that's what you want. Is just someone who's going to be there to score the goals. I thought Runnison in goals looked pretty good last night as well. And that's an interesting one in itself, because I think he's been brought in to be the number one. But your boy who's stepped in for Allsop, who's now gone or on the brink of going, is been superb in goal. Absolutely superb. Like, he has literally been probably the one player who's been excellent in all the games. And what I really like, he's been dominating his box and he's been doing a bit of everything. So fair play to him. You know, he deserves to keep his number one spot until he doesn't, ultimately. And one of the other things we talked about in pre-season, we talked about over the summer, we've talked about in the previews, talked about in the live shows, is what a massive season this season was for Ruben Colwill, and how he needed to take advantage of the fact that Ramsey isn't going to play every game. Ramsey isn't going to play 40, 50 games this season. So there's going to be opportunities in that number 10 position for him to hopefully be given a chance. And when he gets those chances, he has to take them. He was good against Colchester in the first round, or the first EFL Cup game a couple of weeks back. He was really good, got his goal. You could see the goal gave him confidence as well. But he had to carry that on. And obviously, this was, on paper, this was a really difficult game, the Birmingham game, because they've been on fire. They look really good. They got a really good mix of youth and experience in their squad. They're playing good football. They're unbeaten, or they were unbeaten. And it looked like it was going to be a tricky game away at Birmingham. But I did feel that Cardiff had a chance. And Colwill I thought he was superb. You can't, like that finish for the first goal, 3 minutes into the game, when everyone's still a bit nervous and tentative and whatnot, to finish that as coolly and calmly, just opening his body. It seems like such a simple finish to watch, but actually, like, to have the composure to do that at such a young age as well, early in the game, shouldn't be understated. It was a superb finish, brilliantly set up as well, by the way. And it was a great finish, but it wasn't just the goal. He was spraying the ball around, switching it from the centre out to the wings, pinpoint accuracy, the little link-up plays with the attacking players with the midfield. I thought he couldn't, for me, Ruben Colwill couldn't have done more in the two starts he's been given in the EFL Cup. So, from my point of view as a viewer, as a fan, I'm thinking, right, if Ramsey needs a rest or he picks up a knock, he's my guy now. You know, he's not, for number 10, he's a big boy, you know. Ruben Colwill's quite a big boy. He looks like he's put on a bit of weight, like muscular-wise. He looks like he's filled out a little bit, which comes with age as well, by the way, because he is such a young lad. And I think he couldn't have done any more. He did well off the bench as well. I think that was Saturday. I lose track. So yeah, he's got to obviously keep doing it. But as we stand, I think he deserves a space on the bench on the weekend for the league game. And if Ramsey comes off after an hour or whenever he comes off, Colwill should come in. It shouldn't be someone else trying to fit in. Give it to Colwill. He deserves that. I think he absolutely has been superb. I was really, really happy to see some of the football Cardiff played last night. That was because, it's not an easy game. It's away from home. There's not that many fans there. It's the EFL Cup, which so often, gets written off as an inconvenience. The teams have been rotated and stuff like this. So you could forgive certain players for, kind of maybe not being up for it and stuff like this. It's the kind of thing. It's why you get the weird results at the start of this tournament. So for Cardiff to go there and to play the way they did, yes, they got a bit of luck with the sending off, but they still got to finish the game off. The sending off is a 1-0, and Birmingham came out with that second half. Into the second half, they were pushing and pushing. So Cardiff had to put the game to bed. They did. It can sometimes be difficult playing against 10 men. I still believe we need one centre back and we need a striker. For me, the striker, I wouldn't just sign any striker. Like, it needs to be someone of quality who's going to start, because I look at our sort of central striking options. Ugbo, okay, he can score goals, but if we're going to play football like we did last night in parts, he's not the guy, which is why I think he was shunted out wide a bit, and Mate and people like this will play through the middle. Like, so to me, if you can get Kiefer Moore in there and then play football like that, now you're cooking, because he's got some real good link-up play. He's good in the air. He's good on the floor. He scores goals at the championship level. And then you've got Ugbo off the bench, who, look, there's certain players who have got links to Cardiff City who made a career of coming off the bench and scoring goals at important times because they were good footballer. He was a very good footballer. I think he doesn't get enough credit for how good a footballer he is. But his biggest skill was being in the right place at the right time and finishing the chances. Ugbo seems to have that knack of just being in the right place when that ball drops. So what a player to come off the bench. That's the player you need off the bench, is a striker who has got a knack to score goals. So for me, if we can somehow get Kiefer Moore, because those links have come up again today, that we want him. The Bournemouth manager has said he remains in his plans, but he's on the bench all the time, and I think he wasn't in one of the squads as well. So that says otherwise. That's like Ten Hag saying he's happy for Harry Maguire to stay. He's saying that because he's staying, and he doesn't want someone in the squad who's going to cause problems. I've said it a couple of times recently, so I don't really want to repeat myself over and over again. If it was my choice and I could say, they said, Simon, right, you can pick who we'd have, I would sign Axel Tuanzebe on a free and Kiefer Moore on loan. They would be my two. I know some people think we need like another fullback. I think Jamalu Collins will come good. You've got to give him time. I still think the Joe Bagan thing was weird, to sign him to a new contract. I get that he was out of contract, but then to loan him out, it almost seems like a bit pointless. But I get it. It's the way football is, isn't it? You certainly don't want to let people go for free. But I like Romeo a lot. Romeo can play left or right. NG can play left or right. I reckon Ebo Adams could play right back at a push. And I think, look, I've seen more out of Ebo Adams this year and than I saw the whole time he's been at Cardiff. Now, I'm not saying that's all his fault or any of it is his fault, because I don't think he necessarily got the chances to show what he could do. But it's interesting. Like Cody Drama at Leeds is an interesting one, which Reese has just brought up there. I'm going to go to some of the comments now, but we'll start with this one. Cody Drama came on for Leeds on Saturday, made 2 mistakes, and then was subbed off 20 minutes later in the first half. So, did he play in the EFL Cup last night? Let's have a look. Like, I would love to have Cody Drama back, but he doesn't seem like he's having the best of times at the moment. So maybe there's an option to get him on loan, but I think you can only have a certain amount of loans in your matchday squad, which is another thing. Which is why I think, again, if you could get Axel Tuanzebe on a free, it ticks all the boxes. He's young, he's quality, he's technically good, so he can pass and receive the ball under pressure, which is what the manager wants. He can bring the press on to then play through the lines to Siopis or to Ramsey or to the wingers. He's more than capable of that. He's a big, strong boy. He's young. He's technically good, but he's also he's a very, very good defender. He can also play all across the back. So he can play left back, he can play centre back, he can play right back, he can play as part of a three. He is really, really good. So it'll be interesting. Oh, look, mate, guys, if you could somehow add Cody Drama, Axel on loan, Axel Tuanzebe on a free, and Kiefer Moore on loan. Cardiff City, I think then you could then potentially start looking at, all right, well, at the start of the season, we were saying top 10 to build for a playoff push next year, and then build. Maybe then the ambition or the target has to change, and maybe then you can say, all right, that was the target, but look at the squad we've got, look at the team we can put out, and look at the bench we can have. Maybe we should be pushing for the playoffs. It's such early days, there's only 4 league games gone. We're not like, we haven't lost 4 on the bounce. We're played some good football. What was I doing? I was going to have a look at the Leeds Salford teams. Leeds are out of there. A couple of Premier League and Championship clubs dropped last night out of the old EFL Cup. It's such a crapshoot at the early stages. So let's have a look. Boom, boom, tap. No drama in that squad. Was he on the bench? No. So he was on the bench, but didn't come on. So the manager doesn't seem to fancy him. The fans are annoyed with him. Come back somewhere where you were loved. I think that makes sense to me. Cody Drama would be a good option. I do think that people have got to be careful with Jamalu Collins. Okay, and I understand what some people were saying. I know, I think Reese or someone in the comments just said he looked like he was scared of the ball on Saturday. But I also thought he was pretty good against Leicester. And I think he's had a couple of good appearances. He's going to get tired, and he's going to. Would you apprehensive, mate? Look at Ramsey when he came back from his broken leg. He was apprehensive. Look at Luke Shaw. It took Luke Shaw nearly 18 months after he came back from his leg break to even remotely get up to that sort of level. And in fact, it was probably another 12 months after that 18 before he got back to being that sort of top left back. I just think that you can't just expect him to hit the ground running. And I get it. People expect high. He was so good last year that people expect big things of him. He's a really good fullback. Just give him time. Most encouraging thing was the passing and the movement off the ball last night at points was sensational. Like the Wintle goal, I thought was a special goal, and the finish as well. Ryan Wintle, 2 goals in 2 games, by the way. He sees Siopis as the CDM, and he's like, I want a bit of box to box, mate. It was just so encouraging, some of the football they played last night. But let's have a look at some of the comments, see what you guys think. Reese says, I haven't managed to see any of the game apart from the goals from last night. But last Saturday, we started slow. First half was awful against Sheffield Wednesday, but we looked like we played inside forwards, not wingers. Mate was poor. So that was something I addressed in the Birmingham preview video, which if you didn't check it out, you should check it out. It's always good. But there's going to be another one for this weekend. In that, for Cardiff to get the best out of their Ramsey, for instance, I think you need to have at least one of your wingers playing really high and wide, because if you've got 2 inverted wingers and they're playing so narrow, they're cramping his space. So the ideal world, in my opinion, is to have, say, O'Dowda on one side who can take it on the outside, can play high and wide, and then a bowler who starts high and wide but will cut in, because that creates space for your fullbacks to overlap or underlap, for your striker to run the channels or get in behind, Ramsey to slip these little balls inside the fullback or inside the centre back, and also playing football like they did last night, these little triangles and movements, and play through teams for a change, which we're more than capable of doing with the players in our squad. We've also got now pacey wingers who can beat a man and put the ball in the box. You can't do that if you are playing next to Aaron Ramsey. So I do agree with that, and it's something that I spotted. Mate was poor, but his link-up play compared to Ugbo is so much better. And this is why I do feel like if you can get a Kiefer Moore on loan, if we can make that deal happen somehow, I think that's a big cog in the wheel of where we're capable, what we're capable of doing this year, but also playing the way this manager wants to play. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, because all managers are only a few games away from being sacked. So you need to let them get the players they want to play the system they want as quick as possible, because otherwise their fighting for their job with players that they don't want or they didn't want. Reece also said he was surprised by the lack of centre-backs last night. Part of me felt it was Bulut's way of saying to the board, we need defenders. Yeah, possibly. I was a little bit surprised that Xavier Benjamin didn't get a nod because he did play against Colchester, but maybe the manager felt going 3 at the back with the wing backs, he wanted to have that bit more solidity and experience there against Birmingham better than Colchester, let's be honest. And Birmingham, even their rotation players are pretty good, So I could see why he didn't trust Xavier Benjamin, even though I was looking forward to seeing him, having a good close look at him. Reece saying Hull City buying Allsop off us, rumoured to be a £1 million fee. Brilliant by the club to actually get a shot of him and get money. Yeah, I got to be honest. If you're asking me if I want Olnock or Allsop, if you take Runnison out of it, I would take Olnock all day long. So get $1 million for Allsop. Happy days. Not to say he's always been dreadful, but just generally speaking. Atete for Golden Boot, says Rob. We did say on the last pod, as long as he keeps scoring, you can forgive everything else. Yeah, and that's the thing with Ugbo is like, if they keep playing him at 9 and he keeps scoring, who cares about his link-up play ultimately, because that's what Ramsey's there for and the wingers are there for and the rest of them. But you could see last night with some of the football we played, if you put someone of Kiefer Moore's ilk, someone with the ability to link up play as well as he does, we could be in for a treat at times. Allstop's already gone. From Baloo's word, it sounded as if he pushed the move through. We want players who want to be here. So really happy he's gone. One of the worst keepers I've seen. I think that's harsh, mate. I think over the years we've seen much worse keepers. But ultimately, I agree with the sentiment. If someone doesn't want to be see a bye bitch, as the meme goes. Lorna, Reese's mum, says we still need to cover a few positions. Yeah, agree. Reese says, is it me or did everyone else think this tournament ended after round 1? Didn't know there was further rounds. Used to losing it at the first hurdle. Yeah, we haven't had the best entries in the EFL Cup in recent times. I'd say one centre-back, a defensive cover who can play centre-back and left-back. Collins was so poor last Saturday. Looked scared of the ball. Chelsea are 1-0 down to Wimbledon, says Rob. Cody Dramer. 5 loans in a matchday squad. Dramer didn't even make the bench, I don't think. So we discussed that, didn't we? Fans want him gone. Manager doesn't rate him. Yeah, if they can get it done, mate, get it done. I thought he was really good when he was down here previously. We've seen him after the FA Cup last year. He changed the game when he came on for them. And at the end of the game, he walked around and spoke to the fans, applauded all 4 stands, gave his shirt away. Yeah, by all accounts, he spoke quite highly of his time down here. So if there's a chance to make the move, I think that, I would be surprised if he said no, basically, if it was offered to him. Reece also said that I think it'd be nice to have some cover. Otherwise, our winger O'Dowd would be forced to drop back. I don't mind giving him time, but we need some sort of cover. Yeah, but I think, like I said, Romeo can play left back if they need to give him a break. NG can play right or left as well. So it's not like we're like in what United are now, where all their left backs are injured and it's like play a kid or no one. So I do think I get what you mean, and I would not be disappointed to see Cody Dramer come in. But ultimately, also, if I had a choice between Dramer and Axel Tuanzebe, for instance, I'm taking Tuanzebe all day long. Tanner just proves if you stay wide, you get the ball, you can run into space. Works all the time for him. But instead, we played Ugbo and O'Dowd on the wing, who played far too narrow. Yeah, for me, Ugbo has to play as the number 9, or he's got to be on the bench, because there's other players who can play the wide position better than him. You got O'Dowd. My first sort of 3 choices for the wing positions at the moment on form and everything else would be O'Dowd, Bowler, and Tanner. Didn't think I'd be saying that about Tanner previously, but there we go. Shows what happens with, it can be a managerial change. It can just be getting a chance to play some regular football. Reece says, I think if Robinson's fit, playing as the number 9, running in behind and finishing will be brilliant. His link-up play is great. As I've said many times, Robinson is the best finisher at Cardiff City at the moment. And for me, this thing of trying to play at the number 10, I don't know what that's about. Like, to me now, our number 10 should be Aaron Ramsey or Ruben Colwill off the bench. And then if Ruben Colwill can continue his current form with bench appearances and EFL Cup appearances, then he'll be pushing. If say we go into the Christmas period and we're still talking about Ruben Colwill and his form has been sensational, he'll be pushing Ramsey for a spot. He'll be pushing. They'll play him out wide because they're not going to displace Ramsey. I was super impressed. So the Colchester game with Colwill, I was a bit like, yeah, he did very well, really well, and he could have scored a couple of goals. But it's also like a League One team or whatever, and it's Colchester and whatever. So I was a bit like, right, can you get too excited? But last night, they were, he was playing Championship. They were the majority of that Birmingham team were proven Championship players or Championship players. So for me, for him to put in a performance like that, when he wasn't like he had slotted in alongside the first 11, he was playing with a lot of rotated players himself. So to put in a performance like that, I thought was excellent, and I think he deserves a lot of credit because I don't think it's always easy to come into a rotated side and play at that level. It worries me that the manager still seems to quite fancy Atete. He's not for me. I got to be honest. He's not for me at all. There is 4 players I would play ahead of him in any of the attacking players, probably in each position. So in number 9, I'm playing Ugbo, Robinson, Carlin Grant, Mate, all before I'd play Atete. Wide players we've already discussed, and obviously number 10, you got Ramsey, Colwill, Robinson, any of those would play it. So I don't understand quite why the manager fancies him so much. But I guess we'll see in the coming weeks. Obviously, we're going into an international break, which is a bit frustrating as we started to get a couple of results as well as the form. Because I thought our form was pretty good going into these games. Like, I was pretty happy with it, and then we kind of like weren't getting the results. Whereas now we're getting the results, and we're going to bloody go into an international break. However, the benefit of that, of course, is if we can finish off with a win now. If we can get a win Saturday, like, I really think, like, what a great start to the season. Marginally dropping points to Leeds and Leicester. QPR game, shit. And then go at getting a couple of victories to see us into the international break. I don't think as Cardiff fans, when you saw those fixtures, I don't think we expected to pick up many points in those first couple of games. So when you look at it like that, it's groovy. But we have got a very difficult game on the weekend. Ipswich Town, although they lost their last game after a 100% start, but they're going to be very difficult to beat. They brought Brandon Williams in on loan from United recently. They got a very good squad. What sort of team did they play in the EFL Cup? They played Reading, won on penalties, but what sort of lineup did they have last Ipswich? Yeah, so predominantly like young players, but they got some, Brandon Williams played. They got some good players. Like, it's going to be, I like Chaplin, who plays up top for them as well. It's going to be interesting. Rob Boyle, this is a big shout, saying Tanner gives off Cantwell vibes. Well, where's Cantwell now? No, I'm only joking. But I don't admit, Tanner has been sensational this week. He's been a revelation this season. and he should have started for me on Saturday in the league game. And I was happy to see that even with the change of formation yesterday, they still picked him as the wide player. Rob says, big fan of O'Dowda, but he seemed to be lacking a bit of fitness on the weekend. Could be a bit of tiredness, mate. He's played every game. And obviously last season, he played the majority of the season at fullback. So maybe he's getting back into the swing of playing on the wing and that. I meant to say, my brother is running for Crohn's and colitis. He's doing a run in Bristol, but I haven't got the details now. I forgot to wear the t-shirt. I'll wear it tomorrow. But if you guys can donate, it's for Crohn's and colitis, which is personal to me and my family, obviously. But you go on my Facebook, it's on there. But I'll come equipped with more details tomorrow. What else we got? Really glad to see Tanner get some recognition. Certain forum used to slate him all the time. He kept his head down, worked hard, and shown some real fight. Great to see. Sometimes, mate, players just need a chance, or they need a run of games, or they need a manager to believe in them. It could be anything, just these little things. But if a manager doesn't fancy you, it doesn't matter how good you are or who you are. Like, just ask Harry Maguire. Regardless of what you think of him, he's not a Parks player. Like, he plays for England and he does quite well. If your manager doesn't fancy you, you ain't playing. Simple as that. So yeah, good. I hope Tanner can really, because he looks like he could be a real player and a real danger for us this year. So it'd be great to see him kick on, then get even better as the season progresses and he gets more confidence. Got some good, young players in the squad, man. Really, really happy to see that. Everyone likes these young players. Pace. We got some pace in the squad finally as well, which is great to see. Any thoughts on Vontae Campbell? Bulut said he spoke to him about going out on loan, but he just wanted to sit and collect his money instead. So he's come in from Leicester. He had a little loan at Dundee last year before he came to us. He's come in. He's 22. He's a big lad. It's like 6 foot odd. Highly rated. Obviously, you don't get in the Arsenal youth team if you're shit. You don't play for Leicester City in the Premier League, or be in the Leicester system when they're in the Premier League if you're shit. But the fact that he didn't do a great deal at Dundee, although he played 9 games in a short space of time, I suppose. And he had January window to the end of the season. He played 9 games. All right, we'll give him that. It's not too bad. Only 3 from the start, but looks well. 13 he played in total, but only 3 in the cup, 1 in the League Cup, and then rest in the league. So, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really seen enough of him to make a judgment. But if that is true, that his attitude is basically to stay and collect his money, then I'd be trying to move him out, to be honest. Anyone who can potentially, even a smidgen or even like a small, tiny chance that they're going to cause a problem in that dressing room, they got to go. Bit them. No patience for it whatsoever. You're either on board for the team or you're not. Through the week, it's competition to get in the squad and the starting 11, and then have that competition, be dedicated and determined to be in the starting lineup. But even if you're not in the starting lineup and you're on the bench, support the boys who are out on the pitch, and when you get your chance, take it. And if you don't make the squad, you support the boys on the pitch and you train harder next week. Because it's got to be all about the collective. It's got to be all about the team and all about the club. It has to be, or it doesn't work. So anyone who's not on board with it can go. Simple as that. It's got to be that cutthroat. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're Aaron Ramsey. Doesn't matter if you're Oldslop. Doesn't matter if you're Vontae Campbell. If you're not on board for the team, you got to go. Obviously, I just chucked Ramsey in there because he's a big name. Reese says, Charlton rumoured to be interested in Tete. Yeah, I'd be trying to loan him out for a year. And with a condition that he plays 20 games or whatever, if he's fit. Because what he needs. He's a young player. You never know. Like, he could go to Charlton, score a shitload of goals, and come back a different player. Like, he's young and he's raw, but at the moment, I don't think he's a player that Cardiff can rely on to play as a number 9 for the first team. At the moment, he might be in the future, but maybe, who would have thought Tanner would have been so sharp and people calling for him to start and the rest of it. Like, I wouldn't have thought that not long ago. So it just shows, manager opportunity. Young players need time on loan to get used to playing regular football. There's lots of different aspects to it. It's a very complex thing. But if they could loan him out for a year, that is the best option. But as I said with Colwill at the start of the year, in the summer, when I said, like, if they're going to loan him, they've got to loan him and make sure he goes to the right club, right manager, where they're going to play him week in, week out. As it is, I'm glad they haven't made that choice, because it looks like the manager likes him. He's realising a bit of potential. He's putting in the performances. So it was the right decision to keep him. Atete, I think, is one that would benefit. Like, being realistic, Atete, all right, you might get the EFL Cup games, but is Atete pushing? Who's he pushing for a starting place? Is he going to play wide? Well, no. We discussed, like, all the different options. Is he going to play number 10? No. And is he going to play number 9? Probably not. So he's not really pushing for a starting place or a starting 11 place. So then is he going to sit on the bench and get a few minutes here and there, the odd EFL Cup game, or is he better suited going out on loan? And maybe we get someone in on loan to replace him. I don't know. Let's have a look. Cantwell's at Rangers. But what if he was that good, mate? Would he be at Rangers and not elsewhere? Just say. Rob says, you might have been in the chat way back when, but I said a while back when Grealish was at Villa that I thought Cantwell was better. Oh, come on, mate. Come on. Like, regardless of what your personal opinion is of Jack Grealish as a guy, saying that he's not a good footballer is outrageous. And I'm not his biggest fan. I thought it was mental that people were, like, praising Jack Grealish as having this great season last year, and his stats weren't that different to Anthony, who's apparently the biggest flop in the world's ever seen. It's just my problem. Well, not my problem. I just would think Cantwell, at the age he's at now, to really kick on and realise his potential, should probably be playing in the Premier League. Really? Or maybe not Premier League, but like one of the top leagues around the world. I think we all agree that the Scottish Premier League is not that. No offence to our Scottish brethren. I do like him, Cantwell, but I'm not having that he's as good as Grealish at the moment. Potential-wise, he might be, but as we stand today, he's not. No way. Yeah, but mate, come on. It's like different, right? So Rob says, Cantwell watched him for Rangers in the European game last week, was class. Yeah, he probably was, mate. But it's like a different level completely. Like Rangers playing in the whatever it is, Europa Conference qualifiers stage. Jack Grealish is playing in Champions League finals and doing it. It's come on, bro. Could Maguire become the new Phil Jones, staying and just getting paid? Well, it's funny now, isn't it? So the Phil Jones thing, the reputation he's got is slightly disingenuous to a point, because obviously he had very serious injuries which he just could not shake. But when he was fit, I think it was 2 years ago, he was fit when in January, and he had the chance to go and he didn't. And that's where this kind of reputation came of he just collected his money. Maguire's different. Maguire could have gone to West Ham earlier in the window, got paid a fortune like all footballers, be playing first team football, and he'd probably be West Ham's captain. West Ham have made a sensational start to the season, and then it's saw that this week, the move's back on, and it's like, yeah, but it is, because his agent and Harry Maguire has realised that he seemed like a bit of a twat, and it was a bit of a PR thing because he basically made out he was too good for West Ham, and ultimately that's not right. And secondly, United wouldn't. If I'm United now, I'm not letting him go on the 30th of October or 30th of August. Like they can't get a replacement, and there's not enough time. So unless they can get a replacement in, he's going to have to stay, and he's going to be 5th choice. Well, actually, he's gone up to 4th choice because Luke Shaw's out for 3 months. Woo. But he's still going to be 4th choice behind. Well, it's going to be Lindelof. Varane's injured, I suppose, so it'll be Lindelof and Martinez now, and then probably Johnny Evans and then Maguire, which is mental to say. But yeah, I don't. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be very surprised if United let him go now, though, because they've got injuries and they kind of need him for cover. England captain is your cover. There you go. Yeah, I think Phil Jones is done. I really felt really sorry for him. Clearly, he had the potential to be a really top centre back, but just injuries. Just some people have got this thing, and they like Jack Wilshere. They just pick up injuries and they just cannot shake them. But yeah, it's weird. I don't have the same sympathy for Anthony Martial. Strange. I think partially because sometimes it feels like he's sulking. But like Phil Jones, he just couldn't. Every time he'd come back, have a good game, and then just be injured again. Jack Wilshere, like quality footballer, and just I was watching. I saw a clip of a podcast with him the other day, and he said that he'd gone in for like a surgery on a little bone in his foot when he was young, and then he'd gone back to the same surgeon 2 years later, and the surgeon was like, "What? You're still playing football?" And then they showed him his notes, and it said, "Probably never play football again, and will have problems with mobility or walking or whatever." And obviously, he went on and played for years after that. So, like, he's just unlucky, really. And look, even like Aaron Ramsey, I think, falls into that unlucky category. I've said before, like, if he didn't pick up, like, if he doesn't break his leg in that Ryan Shawcross challenge, I don't think he has the same injury problems that he went on to have, because a lot of his injuries were muscular injuries, which I think can be linked back to that injury to start with. And I think Aaron Ramsey would have been one of the best midfielders in Europe, and I think he would have gone on to play for like a Madrid or a Barcelona or these types of teams in the Champions League year after year. But not that he's had a terrible career by any means, but you know. Let's have a look. Steve Morrison said after signing Atete, just because he's a big lad doesn't mean he knows how to head the ball. At that moment, I was worried because it didn't sound like the manager was confident in him. But then, do you know what I ask in that situation is, if the manager's saying that, who signed the player? Before you actually do the signing the player, who has scouted the player, gone back to the club and said, this is the striker we need. This is the guy that's going to make a difference. This is the guy that's going to make a difference in the Cardiff City squad. And then someone within the club has gone, yeah, I agree with your scouting opinion and your scout report. Let's go and sign him. Like, it just doesn't. There's some sort of miscommunication there for me. Off topic. My boy's been watching football celebrations online from Ronnie, Haaland, and all those other stupid ones. So I showed him Robert Earnshaw and said the rest can get in the bin. Good lad. Reece. To be fair, side Ramsey was at Rangers last season. Look at Celtic; they have some absolute quality up there. Yeah, but my point is, what's Todd Cantwell? Early 20s, maybe mid 20s. I'm not saying he's a bad footballer. What I'm saying is, if he's as good as Rob was saying, because Rob was saying he's like better than Grealish and this and that, right? So he's 25. Like, I'm not disputing the fact that he's an excellent footballer. What I'm saying is, at 25, Aaron Ramsey wasn't playing for Rangers. You know? Celtic have got some good players, but if you put them in the Premier League, they'd be relegation fodder. Both of them. I don't even think If you put Rangers in the Championship, I'm not convinced they would go up. I just think it's difficult. Reese says Everton going down under Dyche. Mister, we don't have the money the other clubs have after spending millions this summer. Awful manager. Lampard keeping them up now looks like a real achievement. Don't want to talk about too much like Premier League stuff and that, but I agree with you. I think Dyche is overrated and Everton are probably going to go down. But I'm not having Lampard's achievement because Lampard is one of the worst Premier League managers in history at this point. Rob says Jack Grealish playing with Haaland, De Bruyne, Rodri too. Yeah, but he still has to perform, doesn't he? Like he's contributing. He's not just coasting on other players. He's literally like he's contributing to the team. He's starting over Foden. He's starting over other players. Cantwell's playing in the Scottish League, doing all right. Oh, he's doing it. I'd give him better than that. He's doing quite well. He's this season he's made 19 appearances, scored 6 goals. Oh, sorry, 26. God, 20. That can't be right. 26 appearances already this year. That can't be right, surely. No, it's not. Ignore me. He's made 3 appearances this year, and he scored no goals, no games. So there we go. He's not tearing up trees. All right, look, he's a good footballer, and I would love him at Cardiff. Let's say that. Reese says Swansea are in trouble as well. Fans not happy, calling the brand of football slow and dire. Lost their main striker. Teams sniffing around their other players. American owners feeling the heat. Look, it's early days, mate. So, as much as I would love to celebrate the demise of Swansea, I don't think we're quite there yet. But they're obviously having a difficult start to the season, mate, and it's beautiful to see. And look, for a team who bangs on about this beautiful football they've been playing for all these years, they are playing some pretty shitty football. Pretty shitty city. They're not playing very good football, mate. So they're not used to it. Won't try watching some Warnock and some Neil Harris football for a couple of weeks. I'll get you riled up a bit. That challenge was disgusting as well. Really felt for Rambo. However, in his recovery after that injury meant he came back on loan to us, so played a small part in that Bellamy goal against the Jacks. Yeah, that was a wicked goal, wicked moment, wicked goal. That was, I've got to say, it's one of my favourites. Yeah, look, you got to feel for Ramsey because it was a horrible challenge, and I've spoken to 2 different people who know Ryan Shawcross, and they both said that he was absolutely like mortified afterwards, and was like straight on the phone to Ramsey afterwards and stuff like that. And apparently they're quite good friends now and they've kept in touch. No idea if that bit's true, but so I've heard. It's part of football, and it was a nasty one. But he's always going to get grief, isn't he, from Welsh fans, always. And I'm sure at times he's probably bitten a bit to that grief, like me biting to Rob going on about Todd Cantwell and Jack Grealish. I don't even like Jack Grealish, so I don't know why I'm defending him. But I guess we'll see, won't we? Let's talk about Cardiff some more. Look, I was really impressed with how Cardiff played last night. I thought the second half against Sheffield Wednesday, they were very good as well. And to me, talking about the Sheffield Wednesday game a bit more, because we talked about the EFL Cup game more so. The one thing which I was so impressed by, so happy to see, whatever you want to say, is Siopis. I think he is. Reece says that Siopis looks the deal, mate. Everything we need as a defensive midfielder. He can carry the ball. He reads the game well. And like you watch him in that second half versus Sheffield Wednesday, right? And you've got other players who are kind of like chasing the ball and a bit frenetic. He's just head on a swivel, scanning the pitch, and he reads where the ball's going to go, intercepts it, and then he'll carry it. He can beat a man, pick a pass. Got a hell of a switch ball in him, by the way, as well. I hope we see more of that over there. If we can get these wingers nice and high, I think he's going to do well. Reece says he thinks Gutas struggled a bit when Fletcher came on. I think it's a new league, isn't it? I think Gutas on the whole this year has looked all right. I still think McGuinness is the pick of the centre backs. I still think that if you could get Axelson Xavier, then I think he improves the centre back pairing, whichever pairing it would be. But I like Siopis. He reminds me of Gary Medal. Funny you should mention the low centre of gravity. But he's one of them players who you could tell is going to just end up being like a cult hero, which the fans love. But most importantly, like all that aside, like that's bonus stuff, isn't it? Like most importantly, he is the player who I think is going to put everything together for the way the manager wants to play. Because one thing I think straight away what he did, apart from his own game, is Joe Rawls looked like Joe Rawls of 5 years ago, dictating the play, good little balls, good long balls, movement, looked like he had a bit of an extra spring in his step. But most importantly with Joe Rawls is like he didn't have to worry about being a defensive midfielder or being doing a role that's not natural to him. He literally was just focused on his own role as a central midfielder. Like I still worry a little bit about him because I'm like, what is his role? He's not a box-to-box midfielder because he hasn't got the legs. He's not a defensive midfielder. But I think he can be really good as the pivot in a 2. Because he has got, he's got a good selection of passing. He's got good vision. So if you've got the right defensive midfielder alongside him, I think he can be quite good in a double pivot. But I don't think Wintel's the guy. However, I do think, wouldn't it have been nice when we played Leicester and Leeds to be able to line up with Wintel and Siopis to protect the defence? Like that's going to be a massive option for the club when we play some of those big games, the really attacking teams. We might even see that against Ipswich on the weekend. I really wouldn't be surprised. I think it's away, isn't it, the Ipswich game? Let's have a look. Pretty sure it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's away. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Siopis and Wintel play. Wintel probably deserves to start anyway. Like he picked up a couple of goals. He's played really well the last couple of weeks. Rawls did well though on Saturday. I don't think we see that 3-5-2 again. I think that was because of the rotation more than anything. I'd be surprised if we saw that against Ipswich. I think he goes back to the 4-2-3-1. I'd like to just see us play. I would like to see us play Wintel and Siopis as a 2 against Ipswich. And then 2 nice high wingers, Tanner and O'Dowda and Ramsey in the 10. Assuming that Kiefer Moore's not going to come in the next day or 2, then we go with Ugbo if Grant although I wouldn't be against playing Grant. I think in these away games you probably need a bit of a target man. So probably go with Ugbo or Mate maybe. But really looking forward to it. It's going to be real good. Real good. My preview, I'm recording my preview in the morning for the Ipswich game. So we're in that. We have a little look at Ipswich, how we can beat them. We also have a predicted sides and men to watch, stuff like this. If there's anything you'd like to see added to those previews, something which you feel like we don't spend enough time on or something that you'd like to see a bit more of, then just let me know. Recording it in the morning though, so if you want it in this week's video, you'd have to get it in. And also if people do like them, I might start doing like short short, like those type of videos, but like an after game one, like a reaction, or like 5 things we learned from the game, or that sort of stuff. If you'd like to see those added to the roster of content, then obviously give me a shout on social media. If you enjoy all our content and whatnot, you can always join to be a member at patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Price of a bag of chips per month. You get additional podcasts and content and stuff, rewards, all that sort of stuff. But it also like helps us out a massive amount. I'm at Eat Sleep Media tomorrow filming some content. I'm at Eat Sleep Media on Friday filming some content. Can't do that without the Patreon members. So if you guys can spare that chip money, then please do. We're back tomorrow night for Rodri Gigs on football. So make sure you check that out. We'll be more focused on Premier League, Championship generally rather than Cardiff. And we'll talk all the biggest stories of the week. We'll talk about the transfer window and the shambolic some sides of it are absolutely shambolic. We'll also talk about Liverpool's window and other things. But indeed, as always, appreciate you guys' time. Look out for that Ipswich Town preview, which will be coming over the next day or two. And until we meet again, I bid you farewell. Tidy butt.